do a little talk for us. MoDaCo.
Hi everyone, thanks for the applause. Thanks to Gary and the team for getting all this stuff set up. It's my first March at Droid, and I'm sober, so it's a bit disappointing, you know, everything I've heard about it ain't true. So. I thought I'd talk today about wearables. Obviously this is kind of a big growth area for the mobile market at the moment. This was my initial kind of what I was going to talk about here, how not to look like a weirdo while you're wearing Google Glass, but you know, basically, no, it can't be done. Had to kind of scrap that idea and start again. Glass is still cool though, as long as you can kind of deal with people pointing and staring. I had that anyway, so, you know, no problem. So, what we're going to talk about is wearables today and tomorrow, so kind of where I see the wearables market at now, and where I see it going kind of over the next year or so. I have a ton of wearable stuff with me, so I'm not going to talk for ages. I'm going to kind of just give a quick overview, and if anyone wants to see anything, just come and grab me, and you can have a play, including glass. I just need a small signature in case you drop it. So, one of the kind of key drivers for the wearable market is fitness and quantified self. So, what this is Fitbits, Nike Plus, step trackers, all that kind of stuff that we're probably quite familiar with. Nike really started this trend with their Nike Plus little dongle thing that I have here. And the idea with that was you put it in your Nike training shoe and go walking, running, all that sort of stuff. And it connects to your iPod. Remember those iPods? And it would count your steps and tell you speed up, slow down, and give you all that kind of metrics. That ran on the ANT technology, which is kind of a predecessor to Bluetooth and Bluetooth LE. As did the original Fitbits, in fact. But nowadays, everything's moving to Bluetooth, and it's really kind of changing the market. James and I, how's James there? I need to embarrass him because he promised to embarrass me. We were at Mobile World Congress this year, and something that was quite apparent is that every man and his dog is basically trying to make a fitness tracker. They've seen Fitbit making a ton of money, or selling a ton of products. Don't know if they're actually making any money or not, probably not. And they think, yeah, we want a piece of that. So we've got Fitbit with their devices, the Zip, which is their entry-level device, the Flex, which is the armband, the One, which is one for your pocket, Fitbit Force, which is the one you have if you want to have a rash. We have the Jawbone Up 24, which is this one here. It's a newer version of the Up, and it does wireless sync rather than having to plug in your headphones socket, which is quite nice. Garmin Fibo Fit. Garmin have long been in the wearable market for specialist devices for running and watches, that kind of thing. Samsung Gears we're all probably familiar with. Has anyone got a Samsung Gear, actually? Is anyone wearing one today? Got one, okay. Never mind. But, so James was actually a bit too embarrassed to wear his Samsung Gear today, because yeah, he's not a big fan. If you come and see me at the end, I've got a pebble steel here for you, so you can, yeah, so you can kind of see what the other devices in the market are like. Thanks, Pebble, for that. Yeah, so why this said to you that they're fitness trackers, and obviously all the Chinese companies are kind of trying to do this sort of thing. Heart rate monitor straps give you more detailed data, so you generally wear them on your chest, and they're linked to your device continuously to give you heart rate data. Samsung feel like you need that capability too, so their new S5 and their watches also do heart rate data. They're more of a kind of one-shot thing, so you kind of put your finger on the back, or kind of press the button if it's on your wrist, and it will give you heart rate data. Not in a particularly accurate way, not in a more accurate way than you can already do with your phone camera, but I'm sure it will sell devices, so they'll be happy. The biggest problem for all this stuff at the moment is that the data that you generate from it is very siloed. So if you're a Fitbit user, you can compete against your friends as long as they have a Fitbit. And if you are a Garmin user, the same applies. You can only compete with people with Garmin devices. This is bad for gamification. It's good for companies because I'm going to get all my friends apparently buy Fitbits, but really it's not ideal for the market as a whole. So, future. The sensors that you have in the Fitbit, you're now seeing in a lot of mobile devices, phones. So the iPhone, I hope there's none here get one of those. If you haven't got one, oh, sorry, revoked.
Same guy with the gears got an iPhone.
If you do have your iPhone listed, I'm not going to give you an Android phone. But the iPhone and the M8 can both function as a Fitbit because they have low power co-processors to basically keep the sensors alive and capture that data while the phone's in the sleep mode. So there's a certain degree of erosion of the kind of dedicated tracker market. And we can see with Nike pulling out the fuel bed market that perhaps hardware isn't the way to go, and the software side of things is probably where the future is. I think it's a bit strange actually if Nike pulling out because they have a captive audience, they're selling you these trainers, and they could easily build devices into them at very low cost, but they've decided that's not where they want to be, which is a bit of a shame really. Bluetooth Smart, aka Bluetooth LE, Bluetooth 4, is a big enabler for cheaper, longer-lasting connected data devices. So Bluetooth, previous iterations of Bluetooth, I mean a good example is my heart rate strap. So this is one of those things that goes on your chest and records your heart rate. So previously, you'd probably have to charge it every 7 days if you're using it for regular activity. But with Bluetooth Smart, they last 6 months. So obviously a massive improvement. The Fitbit Zip can go 6 months without charging. Previously it was 6-7 days. So Bluetooth Smart is enabling a lot of innovation. We're starting to see data aggregation services, so this gets back to the kind of siloing of data. So for the Fitbit, like it or not, by putting an API on their service, people are starting to suck the data out and let people compete against friends and family with other non-Fitbit devices. So that'll be a really big trend over the coming year. Of course, we then have a new problem where these aggregation services will be competing against each other instead. So we'll see what happens with that. I imagine we'll get some of the big players kind of in that space. More data points. So at the moment we just get heart rate and steps and maybe how many stairs you've gone up and down and how active you might be. I think we'll get better measuring of heart rate, blood sugar levels, any metric you can think of people try and put in their devices. The real driver to this in the future I think will be implants that we can put in our bodies to capture this sort of stuff. Be interested to know who would actually go for a little chip under their skin to measure this stuff.
Yeah, no problem.
Show of hands, anyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, you're a bunch of weirdos, aren't you? I was talking to my wife about this on the way down and said, I'll be right up for that. I think she's getting divorce papers ready. So glasses, head-up displays are obviously a very visible wearable technology nowadays, particularly in the room up front here. It was actually before glass came along, there's a company called Recon, and they specialise in sports devices for snow sports. So they make goggles, and I've got a pair here charged up, you can come and try them if you want to do so. And the Recon goggles have a full Android OS in them. They have a little head-up display that sits at the bottom of your eye line. And the company themselves make the module that goes in goggles, and then they partner with companies like Oakley to actually get it into market, which is a really good thing for them to do, because if they made goggles themselves, people probably wouldn't buy them because it's not that brand. This is the remote for it, so this is weatherproof, Bluetooth 4 remote. It goes over your jacket and lets you navigate around the UI when you're on the slope. You get a peace map, you can track where your friends are, get notifications from your phone. Again, it has the same sort of sensors as Fitbit, gyros in there, so if you're skiing down the mountain and you do a jump, it will sense that you've done a jump, give you a count of your air time, and then tell you how long you're in the air as you hit the ground. So that was pretty awesome. You do get to that situation though where you've got these really cool goggles on, and your first reaction when you wiped out is not, is my leg broken? It's like, my goggles okay. So. Recon also have announced a new product called Jet, and this is something they've developed end-to-end themselves. It uses the same technology from the snow goggles, but it puts it in a pair of sunglasses for cycling and running and all that sort of stuff. Again, a full Android build. It's been delayed quite a lot. It's now due in September. But they've taken a lot of investment from Intel and a lot of really big name companies, so they've got loads of cash. So kind of no excuse for not getting out yet. Google Glass it's a Google research project that they've decided to kind of ship out to the public. There's been a lot of talk about whether it cost them $80 to build glass, which they're denied, but they're probably not going to say yes, are they? Selling it at $1,500, so they're making money whichever way you look at it, unless you factor in software development costs. Current solutions all rely on powerful processors and powerful hardware within the device itself, so whether it's the goggles with a full Android build, and it's got everything you'll find in your phone, or glass with all those bits you'll find on the phone, that drives the cost up, makes it more complex, isn't great for battery life. Both of these devices will struggle to go a full day, which is ideal when you're using them kind of out on the beach and stuff, or walking around. So that's where we are today. In the future, for glasses and HUD, I think the biggest challenge for mass market is design. So I can't see that many people kind of going into a shop and buying glass as it looks today, although it's cool. If it's good enough home Simpson, and the other problem obviously is cost. You can't sell glass for $1,500. It's likely when it comes to retail, by the end of the year, it'll be $500 perhaps, but they need to keep driving the cost down. The best way to reduce the cost is to simplify the hardware components. So a lot of what glass does at the moment, and a lot of what the goggles do, you could live within your phone. So although you have complex processing and Wi-Fi and all that sort of stuff going on in glass, you could actually offer all that to the phone and just use glass as kind of a dumb display. Not sure if that's going to happen, not sure Google kind of believe in that route, but I think we will see someone doing it. So whoever was the first to do that might do quite well. Smartwatches, so we touched on this already. Smartwatches today, how to do it right, Pebble Steel. Pebble had a pretty good product in their version 1, which was a Kickstarter product, so they came from nothing really. And they've released the Pebble Steel, which takes all the things that were wrong with the original Pebble, mainly around design and build, and fixes them. So you've got nice hardware, good software, decent apps, and always on the screen, which I think is particularly important on the smartwatch. Another area where the gear falls down for me, I think. It might be a monochrome screen, but you can read it in any light, and you just look at it like a regular watch, and it's ready to tell you the time, which is what these things are for primarily, of course. Galaxy Gear, high-spec hardware, but an average experience. I mean, you can't count Samsung out for kind of building a really good product, ultimately, but they'll take a few iterations to get there, I think. And we haven't even gone through the fake leather and dimpled leather plastic phase yet, which will inevitably come to the watches. The biggest problem with smartwatches is that smartwatches they're a piece of jewellery. They're not a tech gadget. It doesn't live in your pocket like your phone. It's a much more emotional purchase for smartwatches. So I think people need to make them look nice, and they need to make them desirable, regardless of what technology is inside them. Ultimately, the smartwatch market is still mature, both in hardware and software, and design and cost. I think cost will start to drive down as well. Kind of straw poll, for those who haven't purchased smartwatches, who feels that design is a barrier? A few actually, more than I expected in this group. And cost? Yeah. Okay. So, future of smartwatches. So we have kind of two camps here. We have companies that are using their own OS, and that's primarily Sony, who've committed to their own OS in the future, Pebble, who've kind of gone down that road and they're on an ecosystem track that we hard for them to reverse out of, and Samsung, who say that they're going to carry on with Tizen on their devices, but Samsung will use the general Samsung scattergun approach and they'll release every product under the sun and see which sticks. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Samsung going Android Wear. And then we have Android Wear itself, which I know we're probably all quite excited about. Android Wear takes a software piece away from the manufacturers and just lets them build the hardware. So watch manufacturers can become smartwatch manufacturers, so maybe that design piece immediately kind of comes out of the equation. We have people like Fossil, who have already committed to making an Android Wear watch. I don't know if anyone remembers the Microsoft Spot watches, and Fossil were a partner back in the day then. I had one, I had a Microsoft Spot watch that ran by FM radio signals, and it was awesome, but it only worked when I was in the States, so it's kind of limited, but no, it's pretty great. Pebble has a head start on Android Wear, and it has you know, a great selection of apps already, you know, a really good ecosystem, and iOS support today. So, although that doesn't really matter to anyone in the room except one of us, I think Pebble will continue to be healthy as long as, you know, the iOS users keep buying it, and, until Apple will make a smartwatch, I guess, not iWatch, which is inevitable, I think. So, a quick slide about Android Wear. So I think we're going to see it hitting in June from LG initially. I was hoping to get an LG watch here today from a friend of mine at LG, but he said yes, but you can't show it to anyone. So I think the use would have been a bit limited. So we've got the G watch from LG, which is a kind of square device, quite similar in style to the Pebble Steel. We've got the MoDaCo 360 coming, so this is the first round device. So Android Wear supports square screens and round screens straight away. So I know there's a few people who are waiting for round smartwatches. James is kind of raising his eyebrows. HTC are doing some wearable devices. Fossil, we've already mentioned, random square reference designs. Easy integration with existing apps. So there's a beta version of the Android Wear SDK out there already. I don't know if any developers here have had a chance to look at it, but it's literally going to be the case of dropping a few lines of code in your app, and you can provide a richer experience on Android Wear. Apps are starting to do it already. Gmail, basically, if you install the SDK and the emulator, and you start playing with Gmail, you'll see that Gmail notification is already Android Wear enhanced. There's millions of awesome Android developers, so support will accelerate really quickly. If you use the Talon Twitter client, that already has Android Wear support built in. And as the SDK matures, I think we'll see more and more features going in. So it becomes a bit of a juggernaut that kind of will probably destroy everything in its path. iOS not at launch for Android Wear, kind of goes without saying, but as with Glass, I think iOS support will come further down the line. Oh yeah, one more slide. Just one more, I promise. So, BYOD, some people say it's bring your own device, but really it's build your own device, and they're wrong. So, these data aggregation services that we talked about before, they'll make the device manufacturer irrelevant. There are companies that are looking at making these really tiny boards. One of them